like a satellite for deep space, but quantum.
Wait a minute. You're sending a signal down to the quantum realm. Turn it off. Now!
So Peyton, this is the third Ant-Man movie. Scott has come a long way from the first one, from an ex-convict to saving the entire universe, and you've been there with him the entire time. So I wanted to ask, how was it for you as director, seeing those changes in the character and following that story too?
Well, it's really gratifying because when Paul and I started on the first movie, it was a question of like, will audiences accept Paul Rudd as a superhero? Will people accept Ant-Man, a guy who shrinks and controls ants, as a character? And they have, and that's really gratifying. And I think audiences relate to Scott Lang because he doesn't have superpowers, so he's not a super scientist, he's not a billionaire, he's kind of a regular person who just happens to get caught up in these adventures. But I think we've all grown in kind of like what we want to do with the movies and how we see the character, sort of the family dynamics. And to us, after the events of Endgame and Infinity War and Endgame, it really, it occurred to us obviously, well, Cassie's going to be 18 in this movie. That's great. The whole theme is time. And how much time he's missed, and his main motivation is just, I want time with my daughter. And now he's coming into contact with a villain in this movie, Kang the Conqueror, who sort of has dominion over time, and what does that mean to them? But I love the idea of Scott still relating to Cassie as a kid, but she's not. She's a young adult now. She has her own ideas about what it means to do good in the world, and she's trying to find her voice as a hero. And she can also be a little critical of her father. That seems really rich. Something very relatable with families, right? Because you don't always tell your parents everything that you do. They don't always tell you everything they've experienced. That's exciting to us. And the Ant-Man movies are always about family. Throwing all these different complications at the characters and sort of pushing them to their limits, that I think is one of the things that Paul and I love about these movies.
If you help me.
So Jonathan, it's official, you're now Marvel's new big bad guy. So how is it for you? How are you feeling? How are you dealing with the people's reactions to the trailer, to your character as a whole? How are you processing all that?
Oh man, I don't know. Maybe I'm in shock. Look, man, what we did yesterday and with you all at Comic-Con, that was such a moment for all of us, the audience, chanting, Kang, 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 Kang.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a birthday party, like, happy birthday, Kang, you're here now. So that's great. But I do not have any, social media or anything like that. For me, that is my retweet or whatever it is the kids call it. Whatever it is, like that's my. That's my endorphin hit, and I think I was buzzing, all night. I got home after our dinner, was just still like, whew, it's a good way to begin, and I'm processing it by talking to you.
Oh, nice.
Pedro. So, it's all good.
It's an honor.
Not every version of me so pure of heart.
So we've seen a version of Kang back in Loki, and now we're seeing a more villainous version of him. We'll see more variants of him down the line. Right. And as an actor for you, is it challenging to portray different versions of kind of the same character? How is it from an acting standpoint for you?
Well, I love that question. From an acting standpoint, it's a lot of fun because I don't just play Kang in the world. I had other projects, other movies going on, which is cool because I have an opportunity to do the work, in multiple different worlds. It's super fun stuff where you go, okay, I wonder how we can, just in my world, between the two, where are they different, where are they the same? And that's really exciting too. So it's kind of I feel like I might be the luckiest actor.
That's good, man.
This place. It isn't what you think.
Realm, we now have the new big bad guy from Marvel, of course, Kang the Conqueror.
Yes.
And you guys are the first movie to show Kang as a more villainous side, maybe an actual threat to the Marvel Universe. How was the responsibility to introduce the new Thanos, so to speak?
We wanted that responsibility. We wanted to put Ant-Man and the Wasp up against one of the big, great villains in the Marvel Comics universe. I loved Kang as a kid, and to get to create him and figure out who he is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's always a fun thing, is like taking these characters that people have a relationship with in the comics and figuring out sort of like what that is in the movie universe, because they're two very different things.
What Josh Brolin did so beautifully with Thanos is that he tried to make him as three-dimensional as possible, to make it very clear, and he really believed in it, which is why I think it was so morally ambiguous as into how bad is he. And I also think the more villainous you are, the more anti-hero you are, the deeper your constitution has to be.
And when we cast Jonathan in the role, and Jonathan and I talked about a character who sort of has potentially dominion over time and maybe has experienced all of these different things and has variance and all this stuff, what does that person act like? What do they think like? What is it like to be in the presence of a person like that?
So I think with Kang, my objective with every role I play is to make them as universal and as human as possible. I think we'd be lucky, for these next phases to have a big bad that also allows the audience to oscillate between, cheering or booing,
And we also love the idea of our regular guy, Scott Lang, going up against this very powerful being.
So, what's it gonna be?
Kang will be the villain of the next Avengers movie, has his name on it. As Jonathan, the Marvel fan, which Avenger are you most excited to see him beat down in a big battle?
I think we have to start with Thor.
You wanna take on Thor?
Yeah, come on, bring it, come. Yeah.
If I ever interview Chris Hemsworth, I'll tell him that and
I'm not
see what
afraid of Chris
happens.
Hemsworth.
Oh no.
You see what you done now? You see what you done?
I may have started the plot of the next Avengers movie.
Maybe.
God of Thunder!
Okay, Jonathan, thank you so much for your time, for your attention. I'm very excited to see you in the movie. Thank you. Pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.
I'm excited for the movie.
Excellent. I can't wait for you to see it.